sterilized, and the more that I think about it, the more I really realized it was a 24-year journey to get me to that point. My mom always said to me, you know, I want to instill the right values in you, but I never want to make you feel bad about anything. I never want to make you feel like, you know, you have anything to be guilty of and ashamed of, and I want to raise you to be headstrong and have a voice. And growing up, sometimes that was a challenge for her, that she realized, just a journey of me learning how to like hone my voice and hone that strength that she had given me. And to this day, sometimes she'll tell me like, maybe I pushed you a little bit too far at times, but you know, she never gave me like those baby dolls that where you have to fake change their diaper and feed them. I had Barbies, who is the serial career woman, right? She was ballerina Barbie and Dr. Barbie and everything under the sun, and I really liked that. And I always loved animals. We had a dog from the minute I was born, and we've always had a dog in the house. So with a drive to be independent, with a love for animals, it was kind of the perfect cocktail for me to grow up really headstrong and really independent. For me, I always thought it was going to be a when, kind of like everyone else. Well, when I have kids, I want, you know, a daughter, and I want to put her in dance, and I want a son, and I want him to do this. And the more I met different people and actually saw kids in the wild, and I'm like, well, I don't know. Do I have to do this? I worked in the biggest beauty store in the world. I worked in Sephora, Times Square. So I had people from all over the world come to see me at Sephora, and no matter where they were from or what their life situation was, the moms were, I need something to cover these bags because these kids, oh, my husband took the kids here, I have 20 minutes, I need to pick out some makeup. And then if they brought the kids in, the kids were running wild, touching the makeup, making a mess. I'm like, is this what it is? I don't know if I want this. I met a coworker actually who, she was like, I am not having kids. Kids make me uncomfortable, I don't like them. I'm like, whoa, someone actually feels the same way. And for me it was, you know, I don't really know how to talk to kids. It makes me uncomfortable interacting with them, and you know, and that's fine, everybody has their own level, but for me, I was like, wow, someone actually feels this way. And then the seed was planted when I was 19. I'm like, this is an option. So, and I'm still saying, you know, no, of course I don't want kids now. I'm 19 and have no money, I'm in college. Of course I don't want them. I have nothing to offer them. I'd be a horrible mother. I'll just tuck that in the back of my head. Of course I want kids. Of course I want kids. You know, this is just talk. This is just talk. And then I got an internship at the biggest beauty company in the world, L'Oreal, which I was really proud of. I was already in college for cosmetics and fragrance marketing, which was really very specialized. They only accepted 25 students a year out of almost 200 that applied. So it was a really unique opportunity to actually make and market makeup versus only applying makeup on others. You know, I'm like, okay, I have this cool opportunity. I have this great internship. Let me see what it's all about. And there were so many women who I looked up to in my internship. My boss, her boss, they would come to work decked out, YSL shoes, Louboutin, just gorgeous, classy, and smart, so smart. They were marketing Maybelline makeup to the masses all over the world. So I'm like, these women are so smart, so successful, and they don't care if they have kids. Most of them didn't. All the women that I looked up to, some of them didn't even have husbands, let alone kids, and they were totally fine with that. They had their careers, and their careers were their babies. So now I'm sitting here saying, well, look at how much work goes into this. They're here till 10, 11 o'clock at night. They're going home on Sundays, on the weekends, working on their marketing decks and their marketing plans. How am I going to fit a family into this? I'm going to be in a big meeting, and I'm going to be getting calls and texts that my kid is sick, and I'm going to say, I can't come, I'm in a meeting. Or, I waited till last minute on my science project, I need you to pick up stuff on my way home. My way home, I'm not leaving for another 7 hours. And now my partner is a police officer. So where does he fit into all of this? He works nights and weekends, so I don't have the help there. Doesn't really make sense for me to have a kid. So with everything with growing up, everything that I feel around kids, I just decided that, you know what, it's not for me, and I can be happy in other ways. So I decided I'm not gonna have kids. So now I have the problem of, what am I gonna do about this? Because I've been on birth control for 7 years. It's causing a fog in my brain, my mood, my weight. I have horrible varicose veins in my legs that will never go away because the pill just weakens the walls of your veins and I walk everywhere in New York City, so my legs are shot to hell at 22. I don't even want to put a dress on because of this. So what am I going to do about this? I have to get off the pill. Okay, I get approval to do the IUD. Let's see if this works. It'll be good for 5 years. I can get it out and get another one in. When they say that they don't want you to have an IUD if you haven't had kids, it's not because it takes so long to get it out. It's because you haven't dilated to where it doesn't fit. So I went into the office, they took clamps, they opened me up, and they put it in. It was the worst pain of my life. Think of period cramps times 100. It hurt so bad. They cut the string too short, and they sent me on my way. I got 2 infections. I felt it perforating on my left side, and my partner was able to feel it, and it was causing harm there, scratching. So I said, you know what, I have to get this out. It's working because I can't do anything that would get me pregnant anyway. So let me take that out, and it was back on the pill. I actually was on a Norwegian cruise a few years ago, and we had a great day in the Bahamas. We were walking around, having a great time, and when I came back, my legs were like 2 balloons. My veins, they were hurting, they were uncomfortable, and I had to elevate my legs. And I'm like, I'm so young, I'm 23, and I'm dealing with this. I don't want to have kids. Why am I suffering like this? Why am I doing this to myself? I need to find a doctor who will help me. And I was already a member of a few child-free groups on Facebook, and I knew about Reddit, so I started searching. I want a doctor who's going to be sympathetic to my choice. I want a doctor who's going to understand and not try to tell me that I'm wrong or bad for not wanting kids. So I found Dr. Kelly Halstead. She's in Brooklyn, New York. She's an absolute angel. She said to me, hey, some people want white napkins and fancy dinners and other people want chaos. She's like, I don't judge you at all. She's like, you think on it, come back, I'll have you sign papers. There's a 30-day waiting period in New York if you want to self-sterilize. She's like, you just let me know whenever you're ready. So I let her know. I came back, I was like, I'm ready to do this. Let's tie the tube. She's like, okay, we'll tie and burn, whatever you want, sign the papers. So I signed them, she signed them, and then we needed a witness in the office to also sign the papers because it was such a big deal that I was self-sterilizing, and then I was doing it when I was only 24. So after I signed the papers, I was good to go the day after Thanksgiving, 2 years ago. I went in for my surgery, and anyone that I met along the way that day, the woman who was taking my blood, the woman who was walking me here, walking me there, how many kids do you have? What genders do you have? Oh, how old were you when you had your kids? You're so young. And I'm like, I don't have any kids. They're like, what? But you're getting your tubes out. Yep, I know, I don't want kids. My doctor caught so much shit that day when they saw on the board, tubal, 24 female. Is she okay? Does she have cancer? What's going on? No, she just doesn't want to have kids. Are you sure? Why are you doing this? They looked at my partner like he was an abusive piece of shit. They thought that he was making me do it. I had burned myself cooking back then. I obviously still do. I burned myself cooking, and the anesthesiologist made him leave the room, and he asked me if he was burning me with cigarettes. Like that I was being abused and forced to get sterilized. The resident there who was like walking me through pre-op and everything was like, well, you know, the main side effect of this surgery is extreme regret. Are you sure you want to do this? I was asked, are you sure you want to do this? Not like pain, not infection, nothing. Extreme regret is the #1 side effect of this surgery. I was like, you could ask me until the anesthesia takes me out if I want to do this, and I will say yes, and I will fall asleep. Like, it will always be a resounding yes. I walked out, I was standing there with my doctor, we were just kind of talking, having a little fun before she took me back. The receptionist looked at me and looked at my partner, and she said, well, what if he decides one day that he wants kids? What are you gonna do then? First of all, rude, HIPAA laws? Like, are you sure you should have that? Whatever. Yep. So I was like, well then, unfortunately, he won't be the man for me anymore, and that would suck because I love him so much, but it is what it is. Like, that's what I want for my life. I don't want kids. Is that okay? Again, walking me to the surgery room. How many kids do you have? None. I don't want kids. Me on the operating table, the resident. Nicole, are you sure? I'm sure. And I looked at my doctor. I was like, you're my hero. And I went to sleep. They said that the surgery would be about an hour.
10 minutes for a vasectomy.
So I had, yeah, they said it would be about an hour, and I had someone worrying about me in the waiting room, counting the minutes. It took 2 hours. And the reason why it took 2 hours was that another resident, who was an absolute angel, said, you know what? Why don't we just take the tubes out? She doesn't want to have kids, and if you take the tubes out, it completely eliminates her risk of getting ovarian cancer, because ovarian cancer starts in the tubes. So if you take out the tubes, it eliminates the risk. She already has big enough incisions. She doesn't need any bigger incisions. We'll just pull them out. So my doctor was like, good call, let's do it. So they removed both of my tubes. When I woke up, I'm kind of crazy. I was like, can I see them? Where are the tubes? Like, I want to see oh no, they're at pathology. We have to make sure they're really fallopian tubes, because there's 2 different tubes in there. There's like tubes that connect your ovaries to your uterus, and then there's the fallopian tubes. And when they first started doing tubules, they sometimes would tie the wrong tubes. So, like, you know, we sent them away just to make sure that they were the correct tubes, but, you know, we're pretty sure. So what they did was they put a camera in my belly button, they blew up my stomach with air, and they were able to see inside. And that's how they were able to cut the tubes. I have 2 tiny small scars on each side you can't even really see, and 1 little scar on my belly button. If anyone wants to see them, I'm more than happy to show you. If you're worried, like, oh, I don't know about scarring, you can see they're really not that bad. I went home, I got prescribed like the heavy narcotics. I didn't even need them. It was just like Advil and sleep, and within a few days, I was perfectly fine. I was like, oh my God, I don't have tubes. So I went back for my follow-up with my doctor. She showed me a picture, like live action, what it looks like in there, and that was pretty cool. She's like, here's it before and here's it after. You don't have tubes. I'm like, oh, that's like what it all looks like. So cool. And she's like, you know, the hardest part of this surgery was all the flack we got from everyone around us. I was like, yeah, same. And, you know, I kept it a secret for a while from my immediate family knew, but I didn't really tell my partner's family because I didn't know how they would feel. I didn't want them to feel offended about my choice. And, you know, it's always hard. Like, my mom is okay with me not giving her grandkids, but I didn't know how, you know, his mom would feel. And I just figured, you know, it'll come up when the time is right. A year later, when I went to see my doctor, she said she's getting calls. You sterilized a 24-year-old, she's super happy about it. Can you do it to me? She's like, my tube business is booming because I'm sterilized. She's like, do you post about me? Do you talk about me? I'm like, every chance I get, I will post and I will say, you're my absolute hero. So in the like aftermath of me getting this done, I do realize that I'm very fortunate to have gotten this surgery. I know that women everywhere are denied even in the very liberal Northeast area, women are denied, and it gets worse and worse and worse as you travel south and west, and it gets even worse worldwide. Yes. So I have a supportive family. I was able to get the surgery. I have a supportive partner. I have 3 things where some people don't even have one of those things. So for me, my goal and what I'm trying to do within the child-free space is to just be a voice and say, you know what, doctors, you don't get to decide what's best for us and for our lives. We decide. And I knew at 24 that I didn't want to have kids. Why are you denying someone who's 30 or 35, 40 who doesn't want to have kids? Why are you denying the woman who's come to you? I'm pregnant for the 3rd time and I don't want this. Please tie my tube. Well, you may want another one. Well, you may want this. Like, I don't want this. Please, I'm an adult. I'm allowed to make my own choice. I can join the war. I can vote. I can live my life the way I want to live it. Why are you telling me no? And my doctor says that this is because a lot of other doctors feel like a sense of paternity towards their patients, and they want to sit there and decide, you know, well, maybe this, well, maybe that. She said, my number 1 goal is to just make sure you're safe and healthy. And as long as you're safe and healthy, it is not my business what you do with your life. And for that, I will always go see her. My family has been really, really supportive. My mom is like, you know what, Nicole, now that I think about it, like, this is perfect for you. She's like, I'm not gonna be raising your kids, so I can't say like, I want grandkids when I'll see them, you know, here and there. She's like, my grandparents really played a big part in raising me. Like, when my parents went to work, my grandparents stepped in and like really took care of me. She's like, I'm grateful for everything they did, but I'm not that. I'm done taking care of people. She's like, so if you have kids, like, it's on you. She's like, and who knows, maybe your sister will have them. She's like, I always had a job to support you guys. You have a career, and I want you to have that career. So for my mom, I'm super grateful. My dad, same thing. He's totally fine on board. My sister. My partner's family is really, really supportive, which is really nice. They said to me, you know, we never cared one way or the other. If you have kids, that's your choice. She's like, his mom and dad just like love me for me, which is incredible. It's usually the people that like aren't a stakeholder in my life that have good things to say. like it's always like the most random people like in the outer circle that have opinions on this, or people on the internet, of course, because you can just hide behind a screen. But like I've been told, this one guy said, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. You'd be doing the world a disservice if you didn't procreate. Like, you have to pass on your genes. I'm like, what is so special about my genes that I need to procreate? Like, and that is none of your business. Are you paying for my kids? Are you raising my kids? No, you have 6 of your own? Okay, mind's your business. Or like, you know, people have said, well, I didn't want kids when I was your age either, but one day you'll realize what's important.
Please.
Trust me. You'll realize what's important. Trust me. Trust someone who's not in my head, who doesn't know my personality or what's best for my life, that I'll want a child. You know, people are always so quick to tell me, and they feel comfortable telling me, well, you're gonna regret this someday when you're old and you don't have kids and you see everyone else who knows what love really is. You'll be able to, you'll realize you'll regret it. And they love to say, well, you don't know true love, you don't know true love until you have a kid, I know true love. Well, then you should know that that's the most unloving thing that you can say to someone that doesn't have a kid. So those things really hurt me because I know myself better than anyone, and I know that it's not for me. And what my goal here is to just hope that society can see that and say, you know what, she's happy without kids. I'm happy for my friends who do have kids, but it's just not the life for me. And people need to realize that we're not any different than anyone else. Nobody walks up to a pregnant woman and says, you're gonna regret that one day. That's a permanent choice. It is, it's a permanent choice. Like, are you sure you wanna have that baby? Like, that is so rude. It's the same thing for me, but you know, we hear it all the time and we're better armed to talk about it. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's really my story. If anyone has any questions about the sterilization process whatsoever, nothing is too personal. I will gladly show you my scars. I will gladly tell you more. I will answer more questions. What I'm doing now is I actually met with my senator to talk to him about the child-free plight, so to speak, about getting sterilized. And he had no idea that we existed. He's like, this is a thing? I'm like, yeah, there's women everywhere who are being denied sterilization. He's like, I have kids, but this is messed up. Good. He's like, so I hear you. He's like, what can we do? He's like, things are crazy in New York, like politics in general is just pretty crazy, especially in upstate New York. So when we have the time, we're gonna meet again, we're gonna discuss it further, and we're gonna see what we can do. I think it's really gonna come down to lobbying at the board of OBGYN, because it really has to be in the code of ethics. Like, if someone is healthy and fit for surgery, it's not up to you to morally decide what's best for them.
What she hasn't told you either is every time, you know, I have thousands who are following me and they say, I want to get sterilized, but nobody in my community, you know, no doctor will ever. She will put that person up in her house.
Yes.
And go to her doctor, and then you have to sign out that there'll be somebody there to care for that person.
I'll take care of you.
I mean, hello. That's our beautiful.
I have a nurse on staff at my house. His name is Odin. He's a Norwegian Encore. He'll help you take care of you.
Do you have any questions?
I would love to know how you're doing that with your senator and go do it in Texas. I'm
Yeah.
asking
Yes.
a hard one, but
yeah.
I would love to try to
Yes.
replicate
Yeah.
that. I mean, our
So,
Texas senators suck balls right now, but maybe we get a good one in and I can make a difference.
Yeah, so what I did was I just went on the .gov page, and there's just like a reach out section where you can write in. And my subject line was human rights issue.
Okay.
That got their attention right away.
Okay.
It is a human rights issue. It's my right to my body. It's my right to choose. And that's a hot topic nowadays. So people are more apt to listen. So they were like, human rights issue? Oh, I'm gonna read this. And I just wrote very plainly, like, it's a choice not to have kids, and doctors everywhere are denying basic medical care for women who choose the child-free lifestyle. What we currently have is archaic. Our options are very limited, and all we want is just to be free, and we're being denied that choice. So that got his ears up. He had me in. It was kind of the right time too, because New York was going through, they were changing the abortion laws, they were updating the abortion laws. That was a hot topic, so I think that helped a lot too. But he asked me a lot of questions, a lot of personal questions about like what happens after. Do I still get my period? What is it like? And that was a little bit hard answering these questions to another man who wasn't my man, and to another woman like taking the notes. But it's important that I'm open and out there and vulnerable, because people need to know what it really is to understand it, and realize that it's not so scary. If a doctor's worried about being sued because years down the line someone wants kids, you can't sue, because I've signed my life away. How many times they've signed, I've signed. If I turned around and said, I want kids now, why did you tie my tube? She would have been like, you signed the form. Like, our hands are clean. Another thing she said was, I still have my eggs. If I really, if I decided I wanted to have kids, I can do IVF. And that option's there, that door's open. They can't take the eggs because the uterus will rot and you'll get sick and you'll need a hysterectomy, but the door is open. So what are you really, like, what harm are you doing? It doesn't matter one way or the other. So this is just like, it should be written in the medical code. You don't get to have a personal opinion on what's best for someone. And it is there. They just ignore it.
Yeah, but here's the thing, you guys gotta remember three different things when you go to a hospital for procedure or anybody bothering you about this. Number one, always if you meet a lab technician, technologist, doctor at the office, or even right before your surgery, you tell them directly, look them straight in the eye, I want a note on my medical record stating that I do not want kids and I do not want that question asked. And number two, you ask for your profile, your visit to be on VIP, because they're gonna track who's all looking at your stuff, because, and plus, if it's VIP, the medical field looks at that first. So it's basically, it's like a private thing. And number three, if you're getting hounded or you want to do preventive measures, ask to see the surgery manager, but not the director, and tell them directly, I'm for it, and if there's any more questions, I will write down everybody's name and do a lawsuit, because they broke the HIPAA law.
Broke HIPAA. I feel like HIPAA was broken a lot of times for me.
Yeah.
It was the little comments. Like, could have really done without the comments, because it was scary for me too. Like, as much as I had already decided and I had come to peace with it, it's still so permanent, and I'm still so young. So in the back of my head, sometimes I doubt that too. Like, girl, you're only 24. Like, are you sure? And my strong will said, yes, I am. So having people question me at every turn almost made me question myself. And that's not cool, that's not okay. My friend who went in, her doctor finally agreed after 6 months, after her begging and pleading, he finally said, okay, I'll tie your tubes. There's a local hospital in St. Mary's in my hometown. They said no, because we're a Catholic hospital, we won't do that, you gotta go somewhere else. So then it was another 6 months, and at every turn, her and I were texting, and I was kind of like her support system, and she was like, I couldn't have done it without you, and that, that made me feel really good. But the Catholic hospital, they said, no, you can't. Girls will say they have endometriosis so bad, and they have crippling periods, like nothing you've ever seen before, just the worst pain, and they don't want kids, they have endo, and they're like, can I just have hysterectomy? No, you may wanna have a baby one day, I don't wanna do this. Have a baby, that's life-threatening, having a baby in that situation. And doctors place the life of some hypothetical child one day that's not even wanted over the woman who is standing right in front of you, begging you to give her relief. No, because you may want to bring a baby into the world one day. Well, newsflash, there's hundreds of thousands of babies in the world that need homes. What about them? No one ever thinks about that.
I love you, Nicole.
I love you.
She's amazing.
Did you have to get Mike's consent to do it?
No.
No, because in Brazil, you
If you were
cannot do
married,
it if
if
your
you were
husband did
married.
not consent.
I didn't, no, because we're not married and I'm single, but I just actually met someone before this cruise who was doing my wax actually. She has 2 kids, but one of them was not planned, and she was like, you're gonna tie my tubes, I'm getting a C-section, I'm gonna get my tubes tied. After this, she said it was a fight to the death, and then when she was going in, she's like, I'm already like super pregnant, super hormonal, already just pissed at my whole existence. And then they hand my husband a consent form. In 2016, they hand her husband, he goes, okay, I'll sign it. She goes, you are absolutely, give me that, you are not signing that. She kicked up a fit, she's like, my husband's not signing that. Like, it's me, it's my body, I don't need his permission to get my tubes tied. You're tying the tubes or I'm birthing this baby at another hospital. And she got her tubes tied, and she took down my info because one of her coworkers doesn't want kids and is having a hard time finding sterilization. So I was like, I will help you.
Thank you.
Love you.